Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's Matt Coleman, your host from Magnify World today. As you know, we're interviewing 50 of the most interesting companies and executives over the coming weeks, particularly around emerging technologies and how that changes their industry. And today we have from Los Angeles, Irfan Merchant, who's the CEO and producer and tech director of Digital Planet Studios in Los Angeles. And they also run a mobile Mocap facility as well. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no, excellent. Look, I know we're going to talk about the changes of the industry and everything else in a moment, some case studies and volumetric capture and virtual production. But why don't you take us back about how you actually got into the industry first and tell us some interesting stories around that.
That's going to be a long conversation. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now. Started off in photography, moved into commercials and music videos, and my passion was always animation. So I was always trying to figure out how to get animation going, and not being a great artist myself, and I couldn't sketch to save my life. I ended up looking at digital animation, which was 3D. Back in the day, it was 3D Studio Max, before Maya and all the other great softwares that are on the market today was available. And so I decided that I wanted to learn all this technology because that's what I wanted to do. But being a tech geek and an engineer, I basically had the opportunity to understand the practical applications and the pipelines process. And that took a little while because there was no internet, sort of out there giving you all this information at the click of a button. You didn't have YouTube back then. So you literally had to go assist somebody or be an apprentice and learn on site with people. I got very fortunate enough to meet somebody who is a visual effects director and took a liking to me and made me his assistant and gave me the opportunity to learn the green screen technology back in there, where Ultimate was still doing SDI instead of HD, and composite and component at the time. And as we go along, the technology has come so much in advance in the last 10 years. It's almost amazing what's possible today.
Yeah, well, virtual production has obviously been around for a while if you talk to the experts, but it's really changed this year, obviously, because of the status of the economies and the health issues that go with it as well. But look, yeah, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, virtual production has been around for a long time. The only thing was the real-time technology wasn't there that Unreal has developed and released onto the market over the last few years. We were still working in Motion Builder, in streaming into Motion Builder, Mocap data, looking at characters, and being able to do virtual production in that sort of way. We were also able to do some live composites and tracking through tracking systems over the last few years, like in Kodacam, Moses, Star Tracker, or Red Spy from Stipe. You know, those technologies have developed now. Previous years, you were tracking either with a motion control rig, which actually recorded the data as you were doing things and was able to replay it back in either Maya or in real time with the background. So you could do a base composite and look at it. And that wasn't your final composite anyway. So the technology back in the day was much more simpler and tedious. And you had to track things was one of the most difficult things to do because there wasn't, the PF tracker wasn't available and you were using older, more kludgier systems to do things. But visual effects guys have been doing virtual production for decades now. You know, that's what they do. It wasn't considered virtual production because, yes, there were people on the green screen and yes, they were building assets, but it was all called VFX. Now with the advent of virtual production being real time and being able to be executed in the fast, easy way, that has happened. It's changed the landscape of the situation of how you can produce content, and especially in COVID times when you cannot gather with large teams in large facilities or even travel in some countries, as is restricted currently around Europe and Canada and other places. You have to go through a quarantine in situations like that, where you can set up either a green screen or LED screen, have plates or 3D environments that you can place a person in and produce the content in real time with real time compositing, which is pretty amazing.
That's great. So tell us more about the Digital Planet Studios and what you've been doing there. I mean, how did you get that started, and who you're working with, and what sort of products have you got? Because I know you're doing augmented reality and virtual reality projects as well as film and
Right.
TV.
So we kind of started. We started a company called Mobile Motion Mocap, which was our service-based company, which services the mocap animation, video gaming, AR, VR, virtual production industry by providing mocap services and tracking services and camera services. And we also build assets and scenes and sets for clients. As far as Digital Planet Studio goes, it's our production division where we take on projects that are brought to us by clients that want us to produce the whole content and not just do services in mocap. And also, we are developing our own projects, which we have just made a deal with ESTV, which is Esports TV, to produce 4 shows for them called Hard Mode, TikTok to Me, which is going to be a dance challenge show. And then we're doing box fighting, which is an esports event. And then we're going to be introducing more esports-based shows and animation-based and music-based shows there.
When you mentioned TikTok, that's a bit of a press announcement I read today that, you won't be able to download the app, from this coming Sunday in the US. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I did read. And obviously Oracle's got some joint venture they're working through at the moment. What are your ideas on marketing on TikTok anyway with esports?
TikTok isn't going away. Let's be honest about it. It's a global phenomena. It's got billions of followers. And in US, I believe there's 35 to 50 million users of TikTok. And that's a way for a lot of people to make money as influencers by posting their videos and brands sponsoring them. I don't think that's going to change. There might be some changes in ownership and partnerships, but it is one of the biggest social media platforms out there. No one country or government can shut it down. And I think they will work details out. So I'm not really that stressed about that or even worried about it. And if there are already that many users on it, and if they aren't allowed to have new downloads and new members, there is still a large community out there. And it's one of the greatest marketing platforms out there. And brands are getting more and more used to it. And, a lot of people are looking at it as a different way of marketing and expressing themselves. So I think it's just a matter of political situation, which will resolve itself hopefully in November, and then everything will go back to normal. And that's our hope and prayer.
That's true. Yeah, well, look, let's wait and see. I guess the other battle that we've seen is the epic battle with Apple and Google in regards to the App Store revenue shares. What are your thoughts on that? That is just one of those
incredible things that I'm just surprised Apple is even trying to do that, because I know that Apple users, Epic users and Fortnite users will dump Apple products if that happens. And Apple doesn't understand the value of that entire situation. And it's amazing that they're challenging one of the biggest brands in the world in gaming, which has brought to them a lot of users. And so I am just surprised that that's a political issue with them, with financial and corporate issue. And I'm hoping they can resolve this, because if they discontinue letting people download Epic on Apple's going to have a huge loss in end users, because there are so many of them that are all plugged into Fortnite, and it is a very big, powerful game, generates hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and players get money out of that who are competing professionally. So Apple making that decision, it's up to them. I don't tell them to do what they want to do, but I definitely think that Apple will lose a lot of cell phone users for definitely, and move to Android if Apple decides to kill Fortnite on Apple platform. I certainly will.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There must be probably, 60 to 100 million users on iOS, I would imagine. So It's a big debate.
Right.
It's a big number, even though they're worth trillions of dollars, of course, in the market. But
yeah, and it's amazing how it's just I'm kind of surprised that this is all happening, because both the parties are doing really well. They make good amount of money from the situation. So to block that or tell every user that's on Apple that you won't be able to sign into your Epic account or your Fortnite account or your any other game account that goes with Unreal, that will really hurt them in the long run. I don't know if that's a good idea to do that, but I'm not the person in charge of the company, so they can do whatever they like to do. I know that for a fact that I've spoken to people who have heard this conversation and have said to me that if that happens, they're going to dump Apple. That's unfortunate, but that's the situation currently.
Yeah, interesting. And did you see today with Unity is one of the global development tools for gaming and AR, VR, of course.
Right.
We can get into that user case in a moment. I wanted to ask you what gaming engines you use for virtual production and everything else that you're doing. But the share price on Unity is up 44% today.
Which is fantastic. I'm happy for
$75. I think it was 45. I've been reading up about it, of course.
Right.
Buying and selling shares, but you know, a great result for our industry, I think, as a move forward.
No, absolutely. We primarily do most of our work in, if it's TV production or game production. So that, that's basically mostly being done in Unreal. And some users are moving to Unity for virtual production and those things. But Unreal has a lot of tools developed for it already. So, and they've been at the forefront of creating photoreal environments and textures and buying the Quixel Megascan company and releasing all those assets for free on Unreal Market Space was a great move on their part. And I think Unity is a great engine, and I think we've used it in the past for doing a lot of mobile stuff that we've done in AR and other projects. But unfortunately, it doesn't have all the tools required for doing things in virtual production, and which I'm hoping they will change. And I know there's a team that's being put together at Unity to develop those tools and speak to virtual production filmmakers and technicians to sort of develop a sort of a rapport with them and get them involved in that.
Sure. Tell us about that marketplace you mentioned before that Unreal purchased and released for free. I mean, can you tell us some background on that and what are the options that a filmmaker has?
Both platforms, Unity and Unreal, have their own marketplace where they have assets and products that are built for their particular engine, and they host them on their sort of e-shopping network in a way we would say. And then, so think of it as the Turbo Squid on Epic or Unity. They're basically taking the content they've created that's applicable and usable in both engines, and they've announced it on the market so they can actually have people post things they want to sell, things they want to buy, because a lot of gamers and game developers aren't 3D artists, so they may just want to buy pre-made assets and use those, or blueprints as incomes or plugins that come through Unity or Unreal. They're available on their marketplace, so you can download those and be able to apply them in your production pipeline.
That's excellent. Yeah, thanks for explaining that.
Sure.
And talking about, just go into some more details around virtual production. So, what are you currently in production? Have you seen an increase in demand over the last 6 months for these sort of things? I know Batman just got shut down.
Yeah, we've seen some of these. The problem is virtual production is one of the safest ways to do production at this time in this environment, because it requires a lot less people involved and allows you to be more flexible, and you can sort of separate people in production stage and then bring them closer in post. And there are a lot of tools and visual effects that can be applied to make production safe. And because of travel restrictions and going to different locations, you can now bring locations to you. So there's a couple of different ways of doing that. One is doing photogrammetry, which means you go on the location, you take a LiDAR scanner that creates a point cloud system, you take a bunch of photos that create the maps and the meshes, the textures for the map, and then you apply them together in capture reality and create a 3D world, which is photoreal and comes from the actual location. So that's one way of doing things. And the second way of doing things is you build digital assets in 3D software, like Maya, Max, there's 100 out there. Modo, which is one of my favorites that I like. There's Cinema 4D, there is Lightwave. So there's plenty of 3D development softwares and modeling softwares. A Blender, which is actually one of my favorites at this point, because they have got some amazing tools, and they're really advancing their pipeline and creativity and allowing people to create things for $0 and giving them all the tools, which is fantastic, which is the same with Epic Unreal. Whereas Unity, you have to pay a certain fee every month to get the license of the software and to be able to use it.
Yeah, we
And
came
it isn't a large amount. It's like $14 to $75 from what I remember when I was logged in last on Unity.
Yeah, what about, I don't know if you know Notch from the UK, that's widely used in more musical live concerts.
It's a great software. Disguise, which is one of the best softwares out there. Then there's Notch. Those two softwares are actually pretty amazing, and they've been mainly used as LED projection setups for creating graphics and loading graphics into live event situations. And because of virtual productions, now they have plugins to bring that information, because we are shooting virtual production against LED screen. And if you watched any virtual concert, you have seen some part of either Resolume, Notch, or D3 Disguise server giving a way to display all this technology and all this graphics onto the large LED screens for virtual production and virtual concerts.
Yeah, I understand the Notch tech was, U2, the band, has used that widely with their tech team, and I think Ed Sheeran and a lot of the stars. But it's their production team behind the scenes, obviously, they're pulling all this together.
And Notch is a very nice software. I've got to tell you, it allows you the flexibility to do things in many different formats and bring it in. A lot of people like it because it's easy to use in certain ways, and the most users, once they get familiar with it, they can fly on it really fast. And that's always a good thing to have. And the ability to import assets and software pieces or animations directly in to the system allows you to be more flexible. And it takes a certain amount of creativity to make something really cool using Notch.
Excellent. No, thanks for explaining that. And let's talk about some of your other work that you've done. I was talking about the FIFA World Cup and some of the, I don't know if the Yulu toy was an app or a game. And
it was actually
obviously working with other studios as well.
Right. So what we've been doing over the last few years is helping productions with motion capture, camera tracking, and virtual production technology. And we've just actually acquired a partnership with Theta V Volumetric Studio Systems, which is coming out of Israel, which is a volumetric capture system. We actually have the only mobile stage in the United States, which is a mobile volumetric stage. And guess what? We're called Mobile Motion Mocap, so we had to have a mobile system. But what we've realized over the years is that, and technology is always going to move and get better and improve. And if you're not on the cutting edge, you're not keeping up with the times. And we see volumetric as becoming one of the principal ways of doing virtual cinematography and photography and production, because once you create an asset in volumetric, it can be placed in a 3D scene, and we just applied all the things that you could do to a 3D asset can be done in there. You could relight it, add additional moves to it by rigging it, and you can create photoreal looking person because it is the scan of the actual individual. So that's the advantage in doing that versus scanning somebody and doing mocap. You do get some uncanny valley situations, whereas volumetric, you get the exact performance that the performer is giving, and you have that fully represented in 3D, which makes it a very valuable system currently in the market.
Yeah, so one of the big advantages we were talking about last week about this system is that the lighting and the color of skin looks very photoreal. Can you tell us how do they move that? It's basically an increase in the quality of
absolutely. Right? Traditionally, when you do any kind of volumetric shoot, you're normally lighting the object, the person, the talent, 360 all around with nice, soft, balanced lighting across, so you get an even light across, so your cameras can see everything that is going on and register everything. The situation is that mesh, when it's recorded, does not have textures on it, and the textures are moving as you move your body in the scene. And so that's the critical part about getting the textures and the mesh to gel and sit right and have the right resolution so you can actually see the quality coming out. We've just developed new filters, lighting filters that we've developed. We're going to be testing soon and posting some videos off that, in allowing the textures that are being captured to have more rounded feel rather than a flat feel from the flat lighting. So we will be doing some tests and posting it in the next couple of weeks. We've just got those filters in. They were designed and built custom for this project, and we're hoping to test them and show the world that even though you're doing volumetric shoots with lighting flat, you can still have the modeling on the face and have the light wrap around edges and curves and still give you the very humanistic photoreal look to it, which is the one thing that everybody has complained about volumetric over the last few months.
And tell us, so what are some of the is it a business case or it's a B2C play here? How can the entertainment industry and the gaming industry take advantage of volumetric capture in terms of, marketing, I can see, but also driving new revenues, of course, in the COVID world through mobile applications and any other ideas that you know.
Well, as you would have realized, that the AR is becoming very big business currently and is expanding exponentially every day. We did our first AR project in 2008. Was our first AR project, which was a while back. And we've dabbled in it over the years. What we've realized is that augmented reality glasses are going to hit the market over the next 12 to 24 months. We're going to see a lot of different ones. We're going to see some really cool technology coming out of that. And being able to create AR assets in volumetric allows you to do conversations. You can have them in museums where people are walking by paintings, where you can have your own person guiding you through the whole situation, giving you feedback on everything. And what normally happens is that either happens in a text box or some sort of a little video that plays out. And it doesn't always look good, and people are always bored with it. So having volumetric assistant with you as you go through a museum and are able to get a full explanation from somebody in 3D right in front of you next to the painting, and give you full explanation and where the art originated, who was the painter, a little bit about them, or the piece of pottery they're looking at, when it came from, what it came from. That sort of technology is advancing every way. As a matter of fact, Smithsonian and a few other museums have already deployed this technology, but they haven't gone to the volumetric for having somebody walk you through the whole exhibition. But once the AR glass is available, that will happen. Also, it will also be available for businesses, because if you are walking into a Sprint store and you want to know what are the latest things, you can just walk up and a virtual attendant can address you. And because the person is photoreal and is completely visible to you, you are not that there's no sort of separation there. And that allows you to do a lot better explanation without jarring the person who's watching it. If it's a 3D avatar, which we have seen a lot being promoted over the last few months, and the virtual being technology is going to the next level, and there are a lot of different softwares and a lot of different companies that have jumped into the market, that this technology is only going to get better and better. And we decided that volumetric is another way for us to enhance our production capability and service capability, but also give an opportunity to the end users to choose how they want to apply it.
Yeah, they're great examples. Excellent. Thanks for that. So I was watching Facebook Connect, of course, the other day, and Mark Zuckerberg and his team announced their smart glasses to the next level, where he went to Europe. He's now got a relationship with the Ray-Ban, manufacturer, who does many of the high-level sunglasses on the market.
Yes, I've owned a few.
Sorry?
I've owned a few and lost a few.
Yeah. I think we all have, to be honest. But it's exciting that, they're in the race now. Obviously, Apple has come out, previously in the last few months and talked about their drive in this area.
Right.
What are you expecting from those organizations and everybody else? How fast do you think this is going to come? I know you mentioned a couple of years.
Well, they're already out there. I mean, there are other glasses out there that are being made by different companies. Sure. We've tested a couple of pairs. The original AR glasses that came out, the technology, the speed of computing, and the 5G wasn't available. And really, to drive AR in the most meaningful way, 5G had to be available, which is happening currently across the globe. And there's a lot of controversy around that, but I think once people understand the technology and get it, they will adopt to it more easier. And my thought process is that for AR to be successful, you have to have good glasses with good resolution and have good projection systems on the glasses so you could see it, and have the 5G technology to drive the stream that kind of content onto those glasses, making them wireless and accessible. And that was always the tricky part. You had to sort of pair it with either a phone or an additional device or something like that. But with advent of nanotechnology and computing being available at atom size processors that are in your cell phones and other technologies, that's going to change the game for the AR glasses. And they're going to come out soon. I mean, they're already been announced. Half a dozen people have released them, shown the different versions of them. But in the next 12 months, they will get, and 24 months, they'll get really solid at it. It will become a way of life. Everybody who can afford it will be able to get it, because I don't think they're going to be cheap. They're going to be in $500 to $600 range or maybe higher. So it's not going to be, unless they go to Verizon or Samsung and they do the payment layout plans like they do with phones, that's going to be the thing that's going to make it sense to do. And so I think AR is going to be a big part of our life going forward.
Fantastic. And what are some final thoughts on the current status of the market? What advice would you give the filmmaking communities here around safety and around the future of the technologies?
Well, I'm hoping that people take advantage of the situation and learn the new technology that's out there. Virtual production against green screen has been around for a long time. Virtual production against LED screen has just got into the part of technology which actually works. And so now that's going to be one of the primary drivers of production, which allows you to drop your crew from 100 people down to 30 maybe. Social distancing and wearing masks and taking all the precautions that all the studios are taking. But you've got to understand people are human beings at the end of the day, and they will make mistakes and they will have issues. We just have to learn to work around it and make the best of what we have in the situation. We keep hearing there's going to be a second wave, and we just heard news that bubonic plague has been found in northern China and Mongolia. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is crazy. So I don't think we're going to return to normalcy for a little bit of time, but I don't think this is going to last forever. So let's use what we have available to us today and make the best of what we have and keep the production going, because since people are at home, they're going to need content, and there's only so many times you can watch a show over and over again till you get to a point when there's no new content being created and uploaded. Then you've got a situation where markets are going, well, we need more content, but you can't produce content and have that many people in the space. So I think this is going to be a shining moment for virtual production, technically speaking. Not that we all wanted this to happen, but this is going to give an opportunity for virtual production to take front and center stage and do the next thing. And I think Epic has done an amazing job in creating that market and supporting that market and supporting the developers and the producers, and just giving the opportunity for individuals who are sitting at home to do this at home and learn, because they've given mega grants to people to learn the software. They've given mega grants to people who want to develop platform and plugins and additional resources onto the system. And they're just looking forward to this technology becoming a way of life and part of our production pipeline in a very standard way.
Look, fantastic summary, Irfan. Thanks very much for your time today. Look, we hope that, I think in these times, what I believe, and talking to industry leaders, is some are saying that this pandemic is fast forwarding innovation internally by 5 years. That's a hell of a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Mandalorian did the LED stage, and people looked at that and didn't even know that was being done on an LED stage, right? Yeah. So that's kind of crazy if you think about it. You go, wait a minute, nobody knew it was being shot on LED stage till the marketing went out, and then everybody understood how it was being done. And most people wouldn't have chased that space if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's XR stages popping up all over the world. I mean, ILM just announced they're building 2 more stages, one in London and one in Sydney. So, and they're now starting an academy to teach people, because this technology is so new that there aren't enough professionals who've had the opportunity to learn how to use the system And it has a lot of little technical things that you have to understand. Everything from color grading on a screen to the precision timing to gen lock solutions to making the cameras track in the world, create an end display window and make it work is a lot of work to understand and do. And so they're now announcing that this is going to be part of the solution. And we're actually in discussions with Epic about becoming an education center for virtual production, part of the process, introducing them to motion capture, camera tracking, virtual production against green screen, LED stages, and volumetric production.
Fantastic, Irfan. Well, look, I really appreciate your time today. And look, where can our viewers find you? On LinkedIn or your website?
We're on LinkedIn, and our company website is mobilemotionmocap.com. We have a bunch of videos on there for you to review, and you can always reach us on the web or through Facebook or LinkedIn. We're all three places. And thank you for taking the time to speak to us, Matt. I really appreciate this. And, this was great.
Thanks very much, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Awesome, Matt. You have a wonderful day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.